Good evening. My name is Roberta Mayer. I represent Subdistrict 10, and I'm the chair of the neighborhood board, and I'm officially calling this meeting to order. It is June 30th, and I'm going to ask the members of the board to introduce themselves, starting at my far right with Herb.
Good evening, Herb Schreiner. Thank you for coming. Subdistrict 6, which is Kamiluiki Valley past the skate park.
Good evening, I'm Paula Bender, and I am representing Subdistrict 9, which is real tiny on the map, but it has a lot of people in it. Lunalilo, Cocoa Terrace.
Good evening, Elijah Lee, Subdistrict 5.
Hi, I'm Greg Knutson, at large.
This gentleman is Anson Wu. He is our neighborhood assistant, and he assists us with the minutes and parliamentary procedure.
Robbie Allen, Subdistrict 2, Quappa Isles, Spinnaker Isle.
Good evening, everyone. Happy 4th of July as well. I'm Lisa Bishop. I'm at large.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. We're going to be starting with our status reports with first the Honolulu Fire Department. Welcome, gentlemen. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Firefighter Sean Ferguson from the Hawaiʻi Fire Station. I have May's incident statistics. We had 5 activated alarms, 79 medical emergencies, 1 motor vehicle crash, 3 mountain rescues, 2 ocean rescues, and 1 hazardous materials incident. This month's fire safety tip is regarding hurricane season. Hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th in Hawaiʻi. As we enter into the season, it's time to check for your kit, refresh your supplies, and ensure everyone in your family knows your plan. Visit honolulu.gov/DEM to learn about the risks and hazards, how to be prepared, and what to do in the event of a hurricane threatens our islands. Build your 14-day disaster supply kit to include everything your household would need to survive for 2 weeks without utilities or access to outside supplies. Check your insurance policies to determine what, if any, hurricane-related damage is covered by your policy. Standard homeowner and renters insurance do not include hurricane or flood coverage. Get appropriate supplies to protect windows. They need to be sized for your windows well in advance of a storm. Sign up to get storm alerts direct to your phone at hnlalert.gov. That was everything. Thank you for your time and have a good evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the Honolulu Fire Department? Yes, come on up.
Okay, quick question for the fire department. In the news, there was 3 canoes that capsized off of Hanauma Bay. I'm curious, 1 made it back to shore, 2 had to be rescued. Were you guys involved in that? And what canoe club was it? Just curious.
Do you know when this incident occurred? Oh, okay. We just got back on duty today, so unfortunately we weren't involved in that. We can get the answer and bring it back next meeting. Yeah. I don't know the canoe club though involved.
Can I get your names again? I know you're Captain
I'm
Esteban.
Captain Mark Esteban. Yes.
And you're a firefighter?
Firefighter Sean Ferguson.
Ferguson.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, the Honolulu Police Department.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Lieutenant Mayor from Honolulu Police Department. So going over last month's statistics, motor vehicle thefts were at 2, burglaries 0, thefts at 9, unauthorized entry to motor vehicles were at 1, total cost for service 5,573. Piggybacking off of the Honolulu Fire Department, it is hurricane season, as we all know. We're all familiar with living in Hawaii. We're all familiar with hurricane threats. in addition to what Fire had mentioned, some other things too to note, so simple things like checking rain gutters and downspouts. Be sure trees and shrubs around your home are well trimmed. And the question should also be sheltering in place versus evacuation. So definitely, if you're in a single wall wooded frame house, which a lot of homes in Hawaii are, something to consider if your house would withstand hurricane force winds up to a certain level. So if you do have to evacuate, it's good to just have a plan in place of where and who you would evacuate with. You can consider, aside from the shelters, talking to families and friends, just to say, in case you do have to evacuate, that you have options. And finally, of course, generators. Just something I noticed personally, like generators, they're always an item that sells out in pending threats or hurricanes, that kind of stuff. So if you have the capability and finances, looking at a generator, especially if you need it just for things like oxygen, breathing machines, that kind of stuff. So it would be something to consider. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Questions for the Honolulu Police Department, starting with Lisa.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate your report. As you know, 4th of July is coming up this weekend, and I was wondering what our police in our district are doing to be prepared to mitigate illegal fireworks in our district. And are you going to have extra patrols going out in the community, or what? Can you tell us what you're planning on doing? Because quite honestly, I'm concerned that with the 250th celebration, that any lessons that we may have learned over the last couple of years may have kind of gone out of people's minds. And I'm honestly really tired of having to medicate my dog because of other people's behavior. So I hope you have some plans for us. Thank you.
Sure. Yes, it's definitely a question of concern. Of course, obviously, especially within the last year, for overall for the state, especially for the island. So as far as the information I have, we are going to have additional enforcement patrols out there. We're going to be upping our staffing as best as possible. Support units will be out in force. But of course, the police department, we can only be so many places at one time. We encourage the public to, if you see anything, please, be okay to call 911 if you see. And of course, just like with anything, meeting with the officers always helps. Sometimes anonymous calls come in, and sometimes it's difficult to identify specifically which individual, which house, that kind of stuff. So of course, meeting with the officers, it always helps. But we will have additional enforcement, I guess, resources out there.
Other questions for the Honolulu Police Department? Come on up.
My name is Judy Nee, and I'm one of the farmers in Kamilanui Valley. We've been experiencing a lot of vandalism. One was two boys wearing masks and driving electric bikes, and they were vandalizing a home. They broke windows, they broke doors. Then another one of the farmers, they stole equipment, tools, and plants. And I don't know if it's summer or what it is, but we've noticed an uptick in these acts of vandalism. And most of them don't want to call the police, but I think maybe at this point, would you advise us to call the police every time we see something like this happen?
Well, first of all, sorry you guys are having to experience that. But to answer your question, I would say yes. It's always best to call the police, even if it's just to identify individuals in the area. If you see something suspicious, just call police. And even if it's just to also deter potential acts of vandalism or identify these individuals, it always helps. But we'll definitely, this is the like Kamiluiki area? Is that the farms you're talking about?
Camilo Nui Valley, you know where the farmers are?
Well, I know there's several areas. So, but that's kind of like Kamiluiki area,
It's
lower part.
beyond the Mariners Cove,
Yeah.
in
yeah,
the
yeah,
back of
okay,
Mariners Cove. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, I'll bring it up with the officers working out that area to try and
And
up
I don't know if I should also bring up that we see more people dumping. Like there was a big stump dumped in the middle of the road, so some of the farmers had to move it away.
Okay. Yeah, again, if anybody can call the police, at least it's documented, have things on record, that kind of stuff. But also it brings awareness to the officers of things that's going on. But we'll definitely bring it up to the officers that work in that area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Judy. Any other questions for the Honolulu Police Department? Well, thank you, Lieutenant, for being with us tonight. No additional questions.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
I hope you all don't have to work too hard over the next weekend. Board of Water Supply, Iris Oda.
Hello. I'm just gonna leave it. Hello, everyone. So Iris Oda, Board of Water Supply. I give the main breaks from the previous month. So in May, I have to think what month I'm in. In May 19th, there was near 327 Idaho Street, a main break. Again, on the 19th, there was one near 1048 Kaomoku Street. Oh, shit. And another one on the 19th, sorry again, 1054 Kaomoku Street. And on the 22nd of May, near 850 Kealoha Street. So 4 in May. And a general water announcement. So we have our semi-annual water quality report. So each year, we conduct thousands of tests on the water sources and distribution system to ensure that our municipal water meets or exceeds all federal and state safe drinking water standards. So testing results are shared with customers via semi-annual water quality reports. So it's going to be mailed twice in a year. The first report should have been mailed by July 1st, by tomorrow. So hopefully you guys all got yours already. And the second one will be in December. So you can also go to see your report online at boardofwatersupply.com/WQR, water quality report, WQR. And you can find additional water quality information there. And including there's this new large print booklet that describes the origin of the water and the substances listed in your report. And also there's always a phone number, 808-748-5041. So that's my report.
Thank you, Iris. Are there any questions for the Board of Water Supply? No questions, Iris. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks a lot.
Kaiser Complex Schools, Mr. Shannon Gu.
Good evening, board. Thanks for having me present tonight. Last month, we were asked to take a look at some of the shelters with hurricane season coming up, and so how our schools function during these times. And so I did some research and I followed up and confirmed with principals of each of our complex schools. And basically it's situation specific. So if the civil defense tells our superintendent or directly to us, we will become a shelter. So just to go more specifically, for hurricanes, we all could be designated refuge areas as Kaiser, Hahaioni, Kamiluiki, Koko Head, New Valley, and Aina. For tsunami, all the schools are safe assembly areas, except for Hahaioni and Koko Head, we're conditionally safe. So we would have to be deemed that. So for extreme tsunamis, most of our campus here would not be safe. But we could be a shelter. For floods, all of us are conditional shelters. And for New Valley and Ainahaina, if it's a valley flood risk as well. And for brush fires, it's all situational assembly. And just like before, New Valley and Ainahaina are valley exit likely in situations. Okay, so that's my report for that part. Did you have any questions about that part? Okay, great.
I think there was just some concern that none of our schools seem to be sturdy enough to withstand a large hurricane.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
there was just an issue about whether or not our schools are designated shelters.
Yeah, I think for assembly areas for sure. As far as in the storm, I guess it would be specific. Yeah, but all principals are on the call list for civil defense, so they have our numbers. They can contact us directly in case of an emergency. Yeah, sometimes it's after a flood or something, then they'll call us to open up some classrooms. All right, on to some announcements. Kaiser High School summer sports training is in full swing. So everybody's busy getting ready for the fall sports. But let's pause for a moment and let's honor some of our spring sports accolades. So all state, this one actually was a National Air Riflery Championship, happened in Camp Perry, Ohio. And so 2 Cougars, Reef Tolosa and Zoe Glazer, competed against 150 top athletes. And after 2 days of competition, Reef placed 11 overall and Zoe placed 38th overall. For Zoe, it was enough to earn her a 3rd place spot in the 15 and under division. So congratulations to Reef and Zoe. Moving on to all state accolades. Lady Cougar Soccer, first team Emmy Hugo. Second team Sky Smith. Honorable mention Jaden Ayano and Leah Kanekoa. For football, we had a second team defense Isaako Sopwanga, Cash Kamoha, an honorable mention, Finley Church, Dylan Hall, and Aiden Leong, and also Neo Sifo. For Lady Cougar basketball, third team, Lawai Kamakana, and honorable mention, Trinity Ho. Lady Cougar softball, second team, Riley Yamasaki, and honorable mention, Paisley Kuba and Madeline Nelson. Baseball, honorable mention, Caleb Hamasaki, Hazen Inoue, Tanner Kagemoto, Mana Shigehara Pang, and Kobe Taniguchi. So congratulations to all of our student athletes. After that, New Valley and through all the elementary schools, we all just finished up our summer exploratory wheel or summer learning hub. So we offered that each one of our schools. We didn't have to, but we did. We wanted to help our students keep up with all of their work. That's about all I have to report.
Any questions for Principal Gu? I have a couple questions,
Sure.
Shannon. How long is summer vacation now?
Summer vacation, we started on approximately May 29th, and it will restart on August 4th, around there. So approximately
8 weeks.
Approximately 8 or 9 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. And then how long was the learning hub, the wheel?
The learning hub, anywhere from 4 to 5 weeks for schools, just based on how they set it up.
Okay, so just another 4 weeks. We're already halfway through the summer vacation.
Yeah. So that prevents a lot of the summer slide, as you call it, and keeps students ready for the next school year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. Question, Greg?
Do you have any status update on the effort to name the playing field at Kaiser after Sid Fernandez?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I do not, but I will follow up with that. Yeah. I do meet with the Kaiser High School Athletic Foundation And so I will inquire with them as well as the principal.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gu, for joining us tonight.
All right.
We always appreciate being here. Thank you.
Thank you,
And your
board.
news is always so positive.
All right. Thank you so much. Aloha.
Next on our agenda is the Hawaii Department of Transportation, and I noticed that a representative is available online, Galen Wong from the Hawaii DOT. Do you have any updates for us?
Good evening, Chair Mayor and Mike Kindly. But I don't have anything specific or anything else unless you guys have something that you want me to follow up on for the next meeting or anything like that.
We have, Elizabeth would like to share something with you.
Okay.
Galen, my apologies, I was late, so I didn't get to ask earlier, HPD, but some time ago, there was an accident and a vehicle went off Ka'ivi, on the Ka'ivi coast, and they broke through the guardrail, and the guardrail was put back, but the truck is still down in there. And I was just wondering how
Yeah, I
something
think
like that
last time
happens.
we looked into that. I think that portion of where the car is under DLNR, Land and Natural
Yeah,
Resources.
sure.
So I think they would have to take care of that. But I can check with our people.
I guess the question was the guardrail being put back so quickly and efficiently without the vehicle being taken out.
Right.
So there was just a question about that, and maybe you looked at it as a safety issue, but that was the question I was asked to ask. Thank you, Galen.
Okay. I'll go and check on that and report back next month.
We'd appreciate that, Galen. Thank you so much for
Okay.
being with us. Any other questions for HDOT? All right, we're going to be moving on to our community announcements. Are there any members of our audience or board members who would like to share community announcements with the community? Come on up. Elizabeth will be first.
Okay, everyone, I just want to remind you that Hawaii Kiavava wetland off Hawaii Kai Drive is not only open for volunteer opportunities, but you're welcome to come and just learn, participate in the orientation, sit there and enjoy it, take photographs, walk around, learn about the vegetation. You don't have to come out there to volunteer. And what's really cool is that we've opened up the landscape even more now. So there are many more opportunities for you to be able to come and enjoy that landscape. And you could go to, let's see, you can go to lhkh.org and find out when the landscape is open, which is many times throughout the week, late in the afternoon, early in the morning. So come on out and enjoy this place. Thank you. And there are flyers in the back there.
Any other community announcements?
Good evening. My name is Oscar Ramirez. I represent HARD, High Owner Advocates for Responsible, Respectful Development. Just here to give you the monthly update. I think you got tired of seeing Tom, so it's my turn. That and 80% of our team is on vacation. Anyways, happy to announce that both petitioning to protect the Janes and neighboring buildings against unbridled development and this, to basically inform that our efforts continue. The survey to let the owners know, basically Kamehameha Schools and Bishop Estate, that we as the community would love to see inside the James building and our views about the neighboring properties. Those are things that are happening and continue to grow. Do remind you to take the survey when you get a chance. Website, highownadvocates.com. And then please follow up with us if you have any issues with the website or with the survey, as we'd like to count your vote and hear your voice. We're pleased also, Chair Tommy Waters, Senator Chris Lee have already put out a call to take the survey, so thank you very much. So as Representative Gideon back there as well. And we want to keep, we'll keep an eye open for his e-blast next week, following the 4th of July weekend. We also want to thank people like Elizabeth Riley and your group, the Hui group, for your support as we continue to expand and make the community, continue to make the community aware of all of our efforts. Regarding some upcoming events, August 1st, we'll be hosting a group called James Bond, indeed. It's an alumni group of James. They're spread out, but they like to come together. So we're going to be hosting those on island. The manager has agreed to open it up for them to sort of kind of reminisce, talk story, and then enjoy the building once again. If you know any of the alumni from James, please pass the word around. Appreciate that. As always, we want to welcome more volunteers. One thing I like to remind people, volunteering is probably one of the most special things that we can do as individuals of a community. You can donate money and make the money back. You can donate stuff, you can buy it back, but you can't get your time back. So volunteering is an exceptional way to show that you care for your community and then continue to recognize the efforts of other people who volunteer. Also, if you have groups, civic groups, organizations, church groups that would like to hear more about the organization, let us know and we'll be happy to come out. I promise there's only 6 more pages. Roberta, Mayor, we also want to thank you and the board, all elected officials, Tommy Waters, Chris Lee, Stanley Chan, Mark Hashem, and once again, Joe Gideon, and candidates such as Kaki Pacaro for their continued support. Also members of the community, Boston Pizza, 7-Eleven, Cocoa Head Business churches, and many of the parents and staff of the Keiki centers that continue to turn out in numbers, either support us with moral support, emotional support, or get out there and help us out. I'd like to remind you, you can see it's a community issue when it comes to the politicians and our representatives. It's not either this or that. It's a community issue. It affects Hawaii Kai. I want to remind people that it is about the community and the voice of the community. Finally, I'd like to point out that the results of the survey, the thousands of signatures we've collected, demonstrate the power of our community, the voice that we have as a community, regardless of opinions of other factors and other things. We come together as a community and we remind Kamehameha schools and Bishop Estate that out of all the voices and all the noise, this is probably the one that should be listening to the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Any other community announcements?
My name is Tom Cooper. He's right. You don't want to hear me talk about HARD again, so I simply support everything he said. On behalf of my wife and I, what I do want to talk about is, and we mentioned this to you at Christmas, we notice many people can't be with their families on holidays. And one of those is July 4th. Either they're solo or they're away from home. And in many cases, they have to work all the way through the day. We like to deliver goodies to them. But we can only do that to as many people as we hear about are working that day, especially for the government. But it doesn't really matter who they're working for. They're serving. If they're serving, we want to serve them. So 2 things we're sad about. One is finding out the next day or the day after that we miss them. Please let me know if they're people you know. The other is not knowing where to find them when we get there. For example, let's say there was a maintenance person at Kaiser. That's a huge campus. It could take us 10 minutes to find that person. So just knowing in advance helps us a lot. And for all of you, happy Canada Day, happy Mandela Day, happy Bastille Day. I may have left something out.
All right, thank you. Additional community announcements.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Kali Picaro, candidate for House of Representatives for District 19. I just want to let the community know we are hosting a Get Out the Vote event on July 11th at Kawai Beach Park, pretty close to us here. And everybody's welcome. All the candidates are welcome as well. And so that's from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Kawai Beach Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other candidates for elected office who would like to introduce themselves to the community? Please come on up.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Jason Liang, candidate for City Council, District 4. However, I wanted to briefly report on the disaster preparedness town hall held by Tina Grandinetti. So as we all know, there is a super El Nino this year. And when I asked, what can we expect? The question was anything and everything, which is difficult. The last one was 2015 and not much happened, but we can expect extreme weather in the future.
Jason?
Yes.
You can introduce yourself and that's it. No
Okay.
campaigning.
Okay. Oh, no, this is reporting for disaster preparedness. May I?
It's an announcement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Apologize. Yes. So it's hard to know what to expect for Super El Nino. However, HHARP, which stands for Hawaii Hazard Awareness, Resilience, Preparedness, they are a organization with the county and the state helping to prepare communities for extreme weather events and natural disasters. So if anyone's interested, please look them up. There are 6 modules in which they will train community members so you can network with one another and have resources in the case of extreme weather events. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, guys. My name is Bobby Silva. I'm running for State Senate District 25. So nice to meet y'all.
Thank you. Any other community announcements? Elizabeth?
I wanted to announce that at Hawaii Kai Shopping Center, that's where Safeway and Longs is located, this Friday from 4 to 9 p.m. There's a free community event put on by Hunt, shopping center vendors, and Kapono Foundation. So there's lots of Hawaiian music, Manalua, Kapono, and Kapena, food trucks, and shopping, local artisans. And I think there's also like a little farmer's market. So it's kind of cool, really neat, and just thought I'd let everybody know that that's happening over at the shopping center. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Are there any public generated issues? These are issues that are not on our agenda, but that the community would like to bring to our attention. All right, I do have one. It came to my attention that there's a resident in the community who would like to discuss Vavamalu Beach and consider a possible change in land designation. I am assigning this topic to 2 of our board committees, the Committee on Parks and Recreation and the Committee on Planning, Zoning, and Environment, to provide a forum for this discussion. And they have already established a meeting date of July 22nd. It's a Wednesday night from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the Hawaii Kai Library Meeting Room. And the discussion, as I said, will be on Vavamalu Beach, a possible change in land designation to maintain preservation and protection, a clarity of the spelling of the name, and possible new signage that might be required. All right. Another public
Roberta?
generated issue, Elizabeth?
Excuse me? Oh, sorry, Roberta.
Yes, Paula?
Spell the name of that beach, please.
Vavamalu, W-A-W-A-M-A-L-U.
Mahalo.
This is about CRB, coconut rhinoceros beetle. Last month, I mentioned that there was CRB infestation in Kamilanui Valley, the agricultural valley. And Cameron arranged to have the Department of Agriculture Biosecurity come out and reconfirm. I volunteer at one of the nurseries there, and we already cut down 2 trees that were not coconut trees that we were not able to save. So I'm mentioning it to you because in addition to being aware of coconut rhinoceros beetle, be observant. There is still some problems with mulch and how people store it. We're working with Fish Pond Heritage Center on trying to protect the corridor between their location and Hawaii Heiau. Both of those 2 locations have very important coconut trees that are hundreds and hundreds of years old and date back. So the Department of Agriculture Biosecurity was fabulous, and they came out to the Hawaii Heiau site, took a look around, and they've provided us with a little bit of mitigation material, but they're going to continue to work with us on that. So again, I'm so sorry to say that CRB is in Kamilanui Valley. I'd say there's probably 5 more coconut trees that need to be taken down, and you know they need to be taken down when they lose their crown. If you do not remove the coconut tree, it becomes a feeding frenzy area, and it's not good for us. So FYI, The last thing I want to say about that is, again, thank you to Brandon and David from the Department of Agriculture. And I want to just give a phone number. So if anybody sees in this area what they think might be coconut rhinoceros beetle problem on palm tree, particularly coconut, please call 808-643-7378. 808-643-7378, and please report it. Thank you.
Any other public generated issue? Okay, we're going to be moving on to our presentations. First on our agenda is the 2026 Honolulu Century Ride. And here to make the presentation is Christopher Salas. He's the events director for the Hawaii Bicycling League.
Hello, Chair. Thanks for having me. And thanks for supporting our change last year for including Key Coast to our ride. We are intending to have that, bring that back this year. So DTS gave us permission to close Key Coast for 2 hours from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. from Hanauma Bay to the gun range, essentially. But yeah, it's going to be on Sunday, September 27th. We're expecting around 1,200 to 1,500 riders. But yeah, no real hiccups last year. I think most of the traffic concerns will be done by 8 a.m. for Hawaii Kai. Our first aid station is at Sandy Beach. So people that are doing just 25 miles will be stopping there, getting a little refueling, snacks, beverages, and then biking back. But yeah, quick presentation. Just want to announce it and take any questions.
Board members, I did send you the information that went along with this presentation. So it does include a map and the route. Are there any questions for Christopher? Any questions from the audience? All right, then we look forward to that Century Ride on Sunday, September 27th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our second presentation is about Hawaii's Legacy Land Conservation Program, what it does, how it works, and where it's going. Our presenter tonight is David Penn from the Division of Forestry and Wildlife, Department of Land and Natural Resources. Welcome, David.
Aloha, everybody. Thank you for inviting us to talk with you about our Legacy Land Conservation Program. I'm not sure exactly what you want to know, so we'll just go through a quick overview and have some time for questions. This is a state-funded grant program to protect land for conservation purposes by acquiring real property interests, usually either a fee title or a conservation easement, which is a special case where the landowner is giving up some of the rights of property ownership, some of the property interests to another party in exchange for some money. And so our program begins with a public process with our Legacy Land Conservation Commission. That's 9 volunteer commissioners, the statewide program. So for example, our last meeting was in January on Maui when we made the recommendations for land acquisition that then go to the Board of Land and Natural Resources after passing through the legislative leadership for consultation. The board approves the grant applications and the amounts of funding, and then it goes over to the governor's office for more approvals and release of the funding, and then we can actually get rolling on the acquisition. So the next slide, please. For example, and we do have a QR code now if you want to sign up to be on our mailing lists and get information about the things that we're doing. And so what do we do? We're under Chapter 173A, Hawaii Revised Statutes. That's the enabling statute. It's subtitled The Acquisition of Resource Value Lands, Resources for Public Benefit. And within the statute, we have 9 specific protection purposes, and an applicant must be hoping to fulfill at least one of these purposes. But in most cases, they're going for all 9 and trying to cast a wide net as possible on the acquisition. For example, the first purpose, go ahead, please. is watershed protection. This happens to be a shot from an early acquisition on Molokai. And the next one has to do with coastal areas, beaches, and open access. The one in the lower left-hand corner, I was just there last week doing one of our compliance site visits. That's out at the known as Road to the Sea in the Kahuku of Kau district on island of Hawaii. Next one, habitat protection. You can see again on the lower left, the Pia Valley Natural Area Reserve, which is just down the road in East Oahu. And that was acquired through a donation and a little bit of our grant money. Also above it, you see the Kanewai Spring at Mauna Lua Fish Pond Heritage Center, which we helped with. And then on the upper right is a cave, again in the Kau district, with Ankyline Pond inside the cave and several very interesting Ankyline pond species that are very special. Cultural and historical sites, such as Hawaiʻi Heiau, which was mentioned earlier by Elizabeth. Also on the lower right there, we have the Greenwell Garden in Kona on the island of Hawaii, for example. Next one. Recreational and public hunting areas. This was a big acquisition in central Oahu next to the Helemano Military Reservation. So a big acquisition for the Division of Forestry and Wildlife up there at Helemano. Parks acquisitions, right-hand side was a county beach park in the Hanalei area of Kauai that we helped with. And next, natural areas such as wetland habitats. Hamakua Marsh on Windward Oahu is shown on the left, but also the wetland here in Hawaii Kai.
David, when you say that you helped with, could you
Yes.
explain what that means? How did you help with the?
Money.
Oh, okay, so money to
Purchase the
to
property.
purchase.
Right. And it can be a state land acquisition, state agency, a county, or a nonprofit land conservation organization. And we have a matching fund requirement for the counties and the nonprofits. There is not a matching funds requirement for the state agencies, but in our hyper competitive grant program, that is one of the factors that is looked at in the overall review of the project. Agricultural production, lower left is National Tropical Botanical Garden on Maui in Hana. Upper right is the Kalu Kalu Ranch in Kona, one of the Greenwell related historic properties. Open spaces and scenic resources on the left is the livable Hawaii Kaihui property at Kaiwi Coast Mauka lands and a gang of people hiking through there. So those are the 9 purposes. Here's a quick scorecard from the different awardees. You can see in green kind of the leaders on the scoreboard. For example, the Division of Forestry and Wildlife has conserved the most acres overall in its 12 fee simple land acquisitions. FS is for fee simple, CE is for conservation easement. Also, the match ratio, which is very important, that's an indicator of how much outside funding was contributed to the acquisition as opposed to our state land conservation fund. So for the Division of Forestry and Wildlife acquisitions, we're typically able to leverage a lot of big federal grants for conservation purposes related to endangered species or forestry or coastal wetlands. So that makes the match ratio quite high. But then if you look at the actual number of acquisitions completed and the total acreage, the total amount of money invested down there in green, you'll see that the nonprofit land conservation organizations are by far the biggest source of acquisitions and the biggest contributions in pure dollars of money for this acquisition program. So overall, we right now have 53 properties in the portfolio, And we have an obligation to monitor those forever to assure that they're managing the property consistently for the purpose that the grant was awarded. That's our charge. We have a financial interest. We don't have a property interest, but we also have sort of a oversight obligation on all of these properties. Okay. So the next section, how does it work? The legislature establishes ceilings for our annual revenue, which is currently $5.1 million from conveyance tax, and expenditures. And currently our spending ceiling is $9 million. However, by the end of fiscal year 2027, the balance of our account will be roughly $7.6 million. That's the $5.1 million plus 2.5 that we still have from previous years of unencumbered funds. Out of that, we pay 1.5 million for the Turtle Bay bond, and we'll be doing that for another 10 years, and unless things change. And program administration, roughly $500,000. Usually we run on less than that, but we use that as a planning figure. And then for the management grants, which is limited to 5% of the total revenue, it comes out to $255,000 for our annual management grants program. So for next year, fiscal year 2027, the budget's already set. We're looking at only about $5.3 million for the land acquisition component of the program, whereas in the last couple of years, we've had about $7 million for that. And then by the year after that, depending on the outcome of the 2027 legislative session, we'll have roughly $3 million for land acquisitions grant. And in our today's program, that's like one property instead of the 4 or 5 that we usually are able to work with. Okay, next. Very quickly, our process diagram here, and we get the money, we get the recommendation, we get the applications, we get a recommendation from the Legacy Land Conservation Commission. We consult with the Senate President and the House Speaker. We then go to the board for approval, and then we go to the governor for approval and the final release of funds. And after that, we can actually do the contract, or in the case of state funding, we just send it straight into a state account. And then there's a lot of real estate transactional due diligence that has to be done before we can release the funds. And once that happens, we close the acquisition and we begin our monitoring phase. Okay. And probably this is a little too much, but by statute, there are 8 priorities that must be considered in awarding these grants. And they mostly have to do with either the exceptional value of the property, danger to the property, or threats of development. And then there's one special priority for unique agricultural lands. The next. And then there are an additional 14 criteria that our commission by rule may consider. They're not obligated to consider it. They kind of fall in 2 categories: the smooth criteria, or the very objective ones, and the fuzzy criteria that are more subjective. And one that always seems to kick in and kind of take over the conversation is the one on the bottom, the urgency of the acquisition. And sometimes it's hard to figure out where that's really at, but that is has been very important in terms of the timing of everything to conserve the property. And each county has sort of a parallel program. I believe that Kahi works with the city and county Clean Water and Natural Lands Fund. I was on that commission in its earlier iteration before the charter amendment in 2014. And that takes 1% minimum of, 0.5% of property tax revenue. Kauai is at the same level, 0.5%. Maui is at 1%. And Hawaii County, which has been our biggest partner in the county programs, is at 2%. But only Hawaii County and Kauai County have actually applied to our program for funding for their land acquisitions. And Division of Forestry and Wildlife applied once to the city and county of Honolulu to help with one of its acquisitions, but that was not popular at the time. So where are we going? Very importantly, we have some vacancies coming up on our commission, especially the member from Kauai is going to be termed out at the end of the next session, and we don't have anybody else from Kauai. We're obligated to have at least one member from each county. A person knowledgeable about Native Hawaiian culture. Her last day is today. So we need somebody for that. I don't think we have any applicants. And then other qualifications include scientific, land conservation organization, environmental organization, and agricultural association. So we have one vacancy starting tomorrow, and we have 2 other vacancies to fill before this time next year or whenever the governor chooses to make an interim appointment, because the other 2 are on holdover status right now. And then for the legislative session, it's kind of our usual requests. We want to remove the revenue cap on our conveyance tax distribution. It started out in 2005, the initial legislation at 10% straight up, no cap. Over time, the cap dropped to 6.8 million, then it dropped to 5.1 million, and that's where we've been for the last 5 or 6 years. And then we want to raise the spending ceiling from $9 million to more, so we can spend more if we have it. And then we want to reduce our debt service payment on Turtle Bay. That one's a bit complicated. It has to do with the amortization of the bond and the overpayment that will occur by 2036 from the transient accommodations tax and the land conservation fund. I can answer a question about that if somebody wants to ask it. Other than that, this is the last slide. Thank you for bearing with us. We do need to update our administrative rules. They were first promulgated in 2012 and haven't been amended since then. And we also have a requirement to produce a resource land acquisition plan. It's kind of a strategic plan for land acquisition, but also carries a lot of program information. So we did have a first version of that was put out after consultation with the legislative leadership. And we want to put out another update for that and bring in some tools that we've been developing that help us to assess where a land conservation project might fit in the overall landscape, kind of a gap analysis. And that will help both our applicants and our commissioners in figuring out which project is more worthy than another project. There is an email address and my phone number and a website address. And this meeting is over. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for that very informative presentation. Are there questions for our presenter? Greg?
I'm just wondering, why is the fund dropping then? Why are you having less? You said next year you might only have 3 million. That might just be one transaction. I know you're wanting to raise the cap and all that, but what are the politics involved and what's going on that you get less and less, even though property values keep going up? Your share of that should be going up.
Well, I would agree with you on the last point, but the revenue is established by statute. The spending authority is established by the budget. And so if we have $9 million, we're going to try to spend it all. And when we only have $5 million, then that's all we can spend. And here comes Senator Lee to help us out on this.
David's been awesome running the program. The politics behind it, just to answer, basically, as you know, we have a limited budget every year. There's not enough money to do everything. And so there's been, for a number of years, this kind of flat approach to where money's been going. This year, as David knows, toward the end of the session, we had a bill that was going to basically double the amount of money going into legacy lands. It would have gone to $10 million, basically all said and done per year. That bill also would have wiped out taxes on the purchase of properties for first-time homeowners and other stuff. So it's all in one package. that is basically priced to go. It ended up one of the casualties of the last week of session, roughly. But there's generally broad agreement on where that's going. So I'd expect this coming year, you're going to have some version of that same thing come forward and hopefully end up moving. And the reason that it's kind of politically, I think, viable, and I would say likely, is because for a lot of the different places and communities on all islands, there's a laundry list of like stuff that is yet to be acquired or preserved or whatever it is. And everybody from each of those islands has their eyes on what they can do to help. And so if we can expand the base revenue that's available, it helps tackle more and more of those things so that we don't end up in situations where we have to step in last minute to save something that's, could have been done more easily before.
But wasn't this established with like a set percentage? And it's like the whole argument that has been ongoing about special funds, and the legislature tends to tap those special funds and divert them to other purposes. But to honor the establishment of land conservation, wouldn't it be best just to honor the way it was set up and continue to fund it? I
Oh,
just
sure.
came back last week. I went to 5 national parks. And yes, thank goodness someone had the insight to save those lands. And we need the same here in Hawaii.
Yeah, for sure. Right now, the way the law reads, 5%, if I'm wrong here, 5% of conveyance tax revenues go into the legacy land program with a cap at $5.1 million that can be spent out of those funds. So more can go in, but only 5.1 can be spent. So what the bill would have done this year is raise it to 10% of conservation, or excuse me, conveyance tax funds going into the legacy lands, and it would have increased the cap to $10 million.
10% is still there.
Yeah.
It's always been 10%, like a cap.
Excuse me, that's right, that's right.
10% uncapped. Then it was 6.8 billion uncapped for some sort of legislative rationale that we don't.
You have to use the mic, please, so that,
Yeah. So 6.8 million cap. And then the 5.1 million cap came in during 2020 during COVID. And the explanation was that we need more money for COVID emergency relief. And our understanding was that was only temporary, but now it's 2026 and it's still there. And then at the same time, you talked about using the money for other purposes. And part of the reason we don't have more money to spend now is because 15 million was transferred from our special fund to the general fund. And that was tied for the most of any special fund during that particular episode.
Just give you an example of this, like on the Windward side, a couple of years ago, we did this big deal to preserve Monowili Valley. It's about 1,000 acres of land that's got all the historic and cultural spaces. Queen Liliuokalani wrote Aloha Oi there. And it was basically slated to be subdivided and sold off as gentleman farms. And so there's this big effort over 10 years. We worked with the community, everyone to set it up. Legacy Lands funding went into a chunk of that purchase, but it wasn't enough. And because you have limited resources available, there's this gap. And if we didn't close the deal with the landowner within a certain period of time, then they're going to go sell it to whoever's going to pay the price. And so I had to step in at the last minute, put in the last $7 million, an additional $7 million to make the deal possible. And so at the end of the day, like you can have a mechanism that hopefully functions from the outset. We can avoid those kinds of situations where we end up with uncertainty at the end. It would just be easier and better for everybody and be more certain to be able to go to landowners in the future and say, hey, we've got this potential opportunity. It is solid. As long as this process goes forward, you're not going to have to go through the process and then have further uncertainty over whether or not there'll be additional funds.
Elizabeth?
Thank you for coming in with the 7 million. But what I'd like to do is work with you for next year so we could get that back up to 10 million. Because if the funds that were taken during COVID were put back because they were temporary, perhaps you wouldn't have had to have done that. The program has run just beautifully from the inception. The problem now is that it's being looked at. It's also happening at the county level. And unless we maintain the integrity of what the people voted for, it's going to be really difficult. Now, one of the reasons why I'm really happy that David came to share and we'll have clean water and natural land come in the future, is because there are lands out this way, more lands that all of us would like to protect. Landowners look at that fund, and when they see at the state level or at the county level, it's being chipped away at, and they know that land transactions can take 18 months, 24 months, they back off. And you cannot do a land transaction unless you have a willing landowner. It takes a while. So it's really important to send that good message that the fund is healthy, the state's behind it, the county's behind it, because the people had asked for it, voted for it. So I would love for us to work with you to bring it back up to 10. And we'd be happy to work with other neighborhood boards too. So we want to help you make that happen next session. Maybe that's one of the things we can talk about and work on for next session and with David. So thank you.
Yeah,
I
couldn't
appreciate it.
agree more. More support than
Right.
video. On
Okay,
this particular
excellent.
measure, there wasn't actually a ton of testimony and support in the end. So having that base, I think, especially from other areas that are not more rural, but urban core places that this isn't top of mind, would be super helpful. So yeah,
I'll reach out to you. And I just want to state again, and perhaps at this board level, we could start that process, because in a year or two from now, we're only going to have $3 million unless we make a change next session. So thank you. I know we can work it out with you because you're quite smart and brilliant. So thank you, Senator. Appreciate it.
Thanks. You didn't have to stop there.
Any other questions for our presenter, David Penn?
Okay.
Thank you very much, David, for joining us tonight. I think this was very informative, and we think that what your agency does is beneficial to all of us. So
Yeah,
thank you.
We're very good at taking cars apart and carting them off that way, but I don't know about pulling it up out of the gulch.
You know, on a side note, you mentioned habitat protection. And do you ever get involved in trying to manage predators? We've had some instances where local birds have been ravaged by some predators that normally would not be there, but we have a prevalence of some feral animals. So do you ever get involved? Does your agency ever get involved in trying to protect those?
Absolutely. DLNR is big in predator control. I mean, I've seen the traps come in by the pallet load for distribution to all of our properties. And what this program does is with whoever the owner of the property winds up being, whether it's the state or the county or the nonprofit land conservation organization, just having ownership of the property enables the implementation of habitat conservation, predator control, replanting of native species, all these kinds of things. So and then we also have the management grant program, which is only available to the properties that have already been acquired with the state money from the Land Conservation Fund. So right now that's about 53 properties, but the site I just visited, they're doing predator control to protect the hawksbill turtle nesting site down by the ocean. And there's many, many more examples like that.
I'm happy to hear that. Thank you. So you're another resource in case we need it.
Oh yeah, so
Okay.
email, call, yeah, invite us to another meeting, anything.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is an announcement of our vacancies, and we're seeking volunteers from the community who would like to join this board. We're a 15-member board. 12 of our seats are currently filled. We have 3 vacant at-large seats. Is there anybody here who would like to be considered for a volunteer position on our board? I'll ask again next month. So I hope some of you will think about it and come next month, maybe prepared to join us on the board. Moving on to our officials' reports, starting with Mayor Rick Blangiardi's representative, Amy Asselby. Welcome, Amy.
Good evening, neighborhood board members, everyone here in the audience. My name is Amy Osselby, and I am the mayor's representative to the Hawaiʻi Neighborhood Board. Tonight, I have a few items to share. One was that I dropped the mayor's newsletter in the online chat for those who are viewing online, and I believe the neighborhood board members receive it in your email, so you have those updates already. I have a list of about 8 items that have been some longer standing questions, some new. A number of them do not have any updates this month. So Cocoa Crater Stables is one of them with no new updates pending, hopefully some new updates next month. There was a trash can request for more trash cans at the Halona Blowhole parking lot. And this request was forwarded to the Department of Parks and Recreation for their review and consideration. Presently, Erica Dacklison, she's the Acting Assistant Collection Administrator at the Department of Environmental Services. And she can be contacted if you have any further questions about that. I have her number. I'm not sure who asked this question because it was to you, Lisa. Halona Blowhole. Okay. I guess it got recorded wrong. So where's the request for the trash can then?
Lisa.
People can't hear you.
Right across from the entrance to Hanauma Bay, that oversight over the Mauna Lua Fish Pond, what used to be the Mauna Lua Fish Pond area.
Okay.
So
I will correct this in our system and ask for the trash can across from Hanauma Bay entrance.
and maintenance of the trash can as well. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay. One of the next questions also was with regard to the use of ball fields, to the use of our parks and recreation facilities. And there was a many email exchange back and forth with your chair. She has been diligent on this issue, but I've also talked to Nate Sirota, the Public Information Officer at Department of Parks and Recreation today, and he said no one was going to be here at the board. They are not doing presentations at the 32 neighborhood boards, but in August, Nate will be conducting a series of Zoom meetings on the new regulations. I think some folks here were familiar with the new way that they're going to be updating ball field usage. And because the Cocoa Head District was a part of that trial district parks that tried the new system. So please tune in. I will also drop the link where all the information is shared on the Department of Parks and Recreation website. And I can send that also to Chair Mayor if you guys want to read up on what these new rules are all about and why they're pursuing them.
And just to follow up for people who are not aware what the issue is, some residents were concerned that there was no opportunity for local teams to use the ball field at Cocoa Head Regional Park because other teams from other parts of the island were able to get permits to use the park. And so our local teams were having to go elsewhere to other parks to be able to practice or to play. And so we were hoping that there would be something in the process that would allow neighborhood teams to stay in their neighborhood rather than having to go elsewhere.
Right. I do believe that is the Department of Parks and Recreation priority, that local people have the opportunity to recreate in the parks in their area. But a part of that process also might include sort of mediation, bringing the teams together to see how they can co-use fields at certain busy times of the day. So they have a whole new process stood up and they want to brief everyone in the community on how it's going to work going forward. Yep. Okay. This one, this question is about Kaluanui Road and tree root maintenance. So the resident had reported that the lower portion of Kaluanui Road has been worn down and needs to be maintained, as well as tree roots that are damaging the gutters and walkways. Could DFM schedule maintenance for this roadway, or can DPR check if these tree roots are from a city tree? So DPR responded, and they said that on May 7th, a Department of Parks and Recreation Division of Urban Forestry arborist inspected the concern of the tree roots damaging the curb, gutters, and walkway at the lowest portion of Kaluanui Road. As no roots were visible at the area of concern, he could not substantiate that the damages were a direct result of roots from the city tree. The Division of Urban Forestry will collaborate with DFM to perform any necessary tree work to assist with the repairs. I think what we were actually waiting on was some additional news from DFM on the actual repairs happening. So that update, I apologize, is somewhat of a repeat. Two new questions that came in the last weeks or so. One was from board member Bishop, and it was about the bronze reef fish statues at Hanauma Bay and what's happening. They seem to need some maintenance, and are they on the schedule? So the Mayor's Office on Culture and Arts is in charge of all the city's, the public art collection. And they have a new manager. Her name is Jenny Sue. She's the new collections manager. And she and the director, Jennifer Santos, will be in touch. They are kind of redoing the whole maintenance schedule this year because they said everything is behind schedule. Those statues apparently should have been maintained every 2 years and have not been. And so Jennifer called me today and said, please assure board members that those fish are on the schedule to be maintained this fiscal year, which starts tomorrow.
Okay, so would it be possible for this board and Hanauma Bay to get a copy of the schedule that they anticipate? And actually, I would like them to come out to Hanauma Bay and see the two statues and see the amount of damage to them. I think they are, they're not at the point where they have to be taken away. They're still manageable, but one of them is a little bit worse than the other one. But it would be nice if the heads of the department would come out, because they should have the most expertise, and see that it may be more than just maintenance. It may be some restoration that needs to be done, especially to the kihi, the fish assemblage. It's older than the humu. It would be nice for them to come out and actually look at the statues and then provide the Hanauma Bay management a written schedule of when to expect and what they plan on doing, so that the management doesn't know what's going on, and for the board to know as well, because those statues are redeemable, but not if they continue as the way it has been. So
I think that is the plan of the director, and she will be in touch. I'm sure she'd appreciate the invitation out to look at them with you and talk about your concerns, so they can, you know, share where they are with the entire maintenance schedule. If it is restoration, that might bump it up in priority according to many pending current needs. According to the director.
So that would be really great, and for the board to know as well. So, and the management at Hanauma would really appreciate it. So thank you for doing that. We really appreciate it.
Sure. The final update you all may have seen from the Department of Parks and Recreation is that there are new weekday hours for the Cocoa Head shooting complex. And they announced these earlier this month, but as of Wednesday, June 10th, the two firing ranges, the pistol and rifle ranges, are open to the public from 10 to 2, instead of the usual 12 to 4 on weekdays. And the weekend hours remain unchanged from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the new hours are basically to accommodate, that's when people are actually there and wanting to use the park, or excuse me, use the shooting range. And those are all the updates I have for you. So I would be open to taking any questions back.
All right, thank you, Amy. So issues to raise with the mayor's representative, Elizabeth, and then Lisa.
This past weekend, there was something going on at Sandy Beach, and there were maybe 10 times as many police officers there. And it started on Kalanianiole, close to Coco Marina on the highway. I have this from residents from Portlock. They were concerned, and the vehicles were, they had their like speakers really super loud, woofers or whatever they call them. And the noise was just crazy. And it was between 11 and 3, and then again from 10 to 11. And so the resident asked me to share this at the neighborhood board and then ask councilmen too, if somebody can touch base with the police officers, particularly with 4th of July coming up this weekend, if police could just have some presence in the vicinity going up towards Sandy Beach in the, what is it? The Coco Marina Shopping Center area, because they're racing there, trying to make the light, going up past Hanauma Bay. And well, this is what's been shared with me, so I'm sharing it out. So from your standpoint, maybe you could find out what did happen, why there were so many police there
Okay.
this past weekend, and if you have an access to the police locally to see if they could have presence for avoidance on Kalanianiole for 4th of July.
Okay. Can you forward that email to me?
course.
And I will
Yes.
send it straight to the HPD for
Okay.
this weekend.
Thank you.
Lisa, go ahead.
Another Hanauma Bay question. DPR's Urban Forestry Division, they handle coconut rhinoceros beetles issues for the parks throughout Oahu, right?
Yeah.
Is there any other agency in the city that handles that for any? The only reason I ask is that I recently found out that Hanauma has CRB. And I didn't know that. And so we have instances in our area here, and I asked how are they being treated, and management there didn't know. And I really wanted to know if we could get a briefing from Urban Forestry Division as to what they're doing, how many instances. They've already had to cut some of the coconut trees down at Hanauma. Could we get an update on that? I mean, I don't want to be an alarmist, but I had no idea that Hanauma had already been affected by that.
Mm-hmm.
So would it be possible?
Yeah, I wish I had a better knowledge of all
Yeah.
the coconut rhinoceros beetle issues. It has been something that has come up because it wasn't managed when it was early on infestations. But so Division of Urban Forestry is, you're exactly correct. They would be.
That's what I was
who
told by
are
the Hanauma Bay
responsible
management, that
Yeah.
they have treated.
If it's on park lands, the Division of Urban Forestry, I think, is managing that. They also help our Department of Facilities Maintenance manage the treescape that the city plants, sometimes along our city roadways. So I can find out who might be responsible for the CRB at Hanauma.
That's sort
and
of
get back to you.
what I want to know. Who's responsible and what are they doing?
How are they
Because
managing
we
it?
have Agencies that are doing it, I'm not sure if they're talking to each other. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be talking to each other,
So-
but it's a problem. And
Lisa, can I ask if you could call I'll give you the number, the biosecurity folks, let them know. They really want to know wherever it is because they're mapping it. But then there's CRB response team that's running out of UH, which are really great too. But what's really needed is a treatment. And there are various different types of treatment, but it'd be kind of nice to know who's
Right.
doing what in our area.
That's really what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Agriculture and biosecurity is responsible for invasive species across the state of Hawaii.
Right.
On this island, there is the Oahu Invasive Species Committee. They do not have a lot of funding, but they've been working more closely with the county to look at that, if there might be something more that the county could do. But right now, it's managed at the individual department level
So
for
it'd be-
lands that they are responsible for.
So we'd love to know what at the county level, what urban forestry is doing. We know they love their trees.
Yes.
So we
Right.
really would love to know what they're doing. And I just think that we might get a better handle on this within our area if we can connect a little more.
Right, if people are talking together and seeing how they can work together more, maybe the urban forestry needs something that somebody else has, or the other way around, or, so that's why I was bringing it up to find out who's doing what, and maybe people that are working on the issue can talk and get together or whatever, because it would be disastrous if it's spread widely at Hanama. And it would be disastrous for all of us, because we all have coconut trees in this area. So that was really the point of my bringing that up. Can we all get the people who are working on this together? And maybe they already are, I don't know. So, thank you.
All right, other issues or questions for the mayor's representative? Judy, are you waiting to share something?
A friend of mine had an incident at the Mauna Bay Park. He said that an elderly couple, the woman was in a wheelchair and the husband was trying to get her into the bathroom. But because the area is grassy, he had a hard time. So my friend had to help them push the woman to the bathroom. But he said that the bathroom kind of reeked of urine and was in disarray. So he was saying, if we're supposed to be this great place that invites everybody to the beach, we should have facilities that are clean and inviting to people and access to everybody. That's all I have to share. Oh, and it happened on June 9th from 10 to 11 a.m.
And which restroom is this now?
at Mauna Bay.
Thank you, Judy. Hi.
Just quickly, we were talking about trash cans. There's a specific trash can at two of them at Halona Blowhole. There's no lids on them, and it's one of the windiest spots on the island. And the trash gets blown right out of that can over and over and over again. And we have to do a cleanup there every 3 months or so. And the easiest solution, we got those fancy new trash cans in Waikiki. At these specific areas where trash is blowing out as a result of the wind, can we get some of those over there as well, considering that they were donated by JBL or something? Not JBL, whatever. They benefit greatly at Halona Blowhole as well. So it'd be awesome to get some of those there too.
All right, thank you. Well, that looks like it as far as input, Amy. Thank you so much. I look forward to hearing more updates next month. Yes, thank you. All right, City Council Chair Tommy Waters, District 4.
Hello, board members. Nice to see you all. My job as the chair of the Honolulu City Council, in charge of 171 employees, and the budget for not only the city council, but also the Office of Council Services, the attorneys who draft our legislation, the clerk's office, and the auditor's office, as well as putting out fires, both literally and figuratively, and crafting policy that affect all of our lives, from cost of living, affordable housing, crime, and parks, and attending 6 neighborhood boards. This job can be very, very taxing. You may remember my hair was brown at some point, and I had a little less wrinkles. But I got to tell you, the best part of this job is taking the time out to recognize folks who have made an impact on our local, national, and international communities. So with your indulgence, I'd like to recognize one of your members, Chair. In grateful recognition of your outstanding service and commitment to the Hawaii Kai community, as a dedicated member of the Hawaii Kai Neighborhood Board since March 23rd, 2010. For more than 16 years, your thoughtful leadership, advocacy, and dedication to public service has helped strengthen community engagement and improve quality of life for residents. Your volunteer service has made a lasting impact on the community and continues to inspire others to become involved in civic affairs. And not to mention the time you spent at the Honolulu Police Department. Thank you, Herb Schreiner, for your years of service.
Congratulations, sir. You are a very important member of our board.
16 years, that's pretty incredible. Yeah. So a couple of things, earlier today, like 2 hours ago, I was at the top of Pu'u'omao Place in the back of Hawaiʻi Valley, and I was looking out at the beautiful view. And I thought to myself, we cannot put a 40-foot building there. The Hawaiʻi Advocates for Responsible Development are right that we cannot let that happen. So thank you guys for all your hard work. And we'll continue to fight. I've asked Kamehameha Schools repeatedly to come here every month to present to you folks, and they don't want to do it. So I'll keep at it. I suggested to them, they could afford it. Just pay somebody to come here specifically to talk to the neighborhood boards, right? Board of Water Supply does it, the police department does it, and other groups do it. I don't see why they can't do it. So I'll keep up on that. Clean Water Natural Land Fund. So we actually take it very serious in the city. We put about $8 million a year into that. It's 0.5% of your property taxes go into that. And the problem is we don't spend it. There's $70 million in that account, 70. This community has been pretty good about taking advantage of that account, right? You got Hawaii, Kanewai Springs, Kaiwi Coast Mauka Lands, Wailupe Nature Preserve, recently Paiko Ridge in the back of Kuli'o'o, and now and we have the board chair here, by the way. His committee approved up to $7 million to purchase the property above Keikilani Circle in Wailupe. Remember Ken Unterman was going to build a bunch of houses there and he was digging into the mountain. Well, as you mentioned, he is an actual cooperative landowner. So it was really nice because at first it was really, really tough. And the community came out and fought for this and he was fighting back. But ultimately he acquiesced and let folks onto the property. They're now stewarding it, the group from Wailupe, lineal descendants. But also we got OHA involved, which is great. They also approved $14 million recently, the Clean Water Natural Lands, to purchase a very, very large tract of land in Kahuku for preservation. It's before the city council on July 8th. So if you folks are at all inclined, you can testify in support of these. But thank you to the Clean Water Natural Lands Commission for their hard work. But he will tell you they want more. So we're happy to work with the state, sir. And we have worked with the state on many occasions in partnership to acquire land. So let's keep up the good work. lastly, I wanted to talk about a few bills that I've introduced and are coming up. So, every year, the city council approves the tax rate, and we've kept it the same as long as I've been on the council. And your property taxes still manage to go up. It's because your property value goes up. So one of the things I've done in the past and I'm doing right now is increasing the homeowner's exemption to $200,000 for kupuna. There's a bill coming up on first reading. It's 180 now, but every little bit helps. And if you folks want it to be more, please come on and testify. I'd support it, but typically the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services, they always testify against these types of bills. But we'll see what happens this year. But I really want to increase the homeowner's exemption for kupuna by $20,000. And then for everybody else who's not kupuna for $20,000 more. And hopefully that takes care of the gap where your property taxes have gone up because of the rising property value. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you folks about is reducing the fees to register your car. Did you know that in Honolulu, we pay 3 times as much as the neighbor islands do to register the car? It's the same car, same weight, right? So I got a bill to reduce that amount and would love your folks' support. I still own a 2004 Toyota Tundra, and it's almost $700 to register. So I know a lot of families got to do that every year, and that's a huge cost. And then the last thing is, and I don't see it as much here in Hawaii, but certainly across the island, is shopping cart theft. Yeah, shopping cart theft. They're all over the place, but the stores don't want to take ownership of it. Because obviously it says Foodland on it, or Safeway, or Long's Drugs. But the stores don't want them back, so the city's been collecting these and then at night putting them back in the parking lot. I was really surprised to hear that that actually happens because the stores don't want them back, but it's theirs. So I was working with the retail merchants to say, hey, what if we said that you cannot have your shopping cart outside of the commercial premises? It's just illegal to own a shopping cart outside of commercial premises. And that was pretty much, I've been thinking about this for months actually to try to figure out how we could do this, because some of the retail merchants will put little locks on the wheels, and that hasn't worked. They just break it. Sorry to say that a lot of homeless people are using the shopping carts, right? And every time the city would go in and clean up an area, people would move with the shopping cart to another area and then come back. So we don't want to be mean to homeless people, but we're trying to offer these same people services and they simply reject it, right? So this would be one way to try to get people services, but taking the shopping cart. I'm imagining the ACLU is going to get mad at me for that, but it's something that I think we got to do. And that's my presentation today and available for questions.
All right, thank you, Council Chair. Questions for Tommy? Elizabeth?
I wanted to comment on clean water and natural lands. We've asked for them to come here to speak to the public because next month we're concerned and the board might take action about the Charter Commission. So the Charter Commission is a step in the direction of making a change to the purpose and intent, the usage of that fund, and it'll go potentially on the ballot, and then everybody gets to vote. And if that happens, there's going to be a groundswell support and unnecessary time and resources to educate the public on why you're going to want to vote no. And I thought we were beyond that sort of way of doing business. So my concern is that the Charter Commission, as it relates to the clean water and natural land, they're looking at other purposes and it makes absolutely no sense. I don't understand, people forget the word integrity of purpose and intent of what we voted on. So I'm bringing this up and I'm mentioning it to you because if there's anything that you think we can do to help fend that off, that would be really great. The other issue about clean water and natural land that I want to share is that we did hear that it had $70 million. Wow, that's a lot of money. But keep in mind a couple of things. There was administration change, there was rulemaking change with the administration, And we're so fortunate right now with this administration and with the Department of Land Management and the dedicated team. It did not have a dedicated team before for clean water and natural land, and now it does. It didn't have that before. So there was it was stalled, but they fixed it. So we're going to see a lot more land transactions coming through. So when we hear that there was $70 million there, you got to look at the reason why. Like I said, administration change, rulemaking. You had people that were looking at the application that shouldn't have been looking at the application. It should have been processing a different way, which is all fixed now. So I just wanted to offer that up to everybody. And keep your eyes and ears open for next month, Clean Water and Natural Land presentation. It's another important fund that has helped us and will continue to help us in the future, island-wide, for protection of lands. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I couldn't resist, so thank you.
No, you're right. So the Charter Commission comes together every 10 years and they consider changes to the charter. So one of the things on there is allowing the use of the Clean Water and Natural Lands funds for, say, purchasing an old building to renovate it, things like that. But what you can do is testify before the Charter Commission, really, and even do a resolution in opposition. The board can, and then go ahead and testify on behalf of the board and maybe organize that with other boards. Yeah. But ultimately, what happens is it gets on the ballot. And they've weeded down. I think they had over 200 ideas to go on the ballot. And I think they're trying to weed it down to 10. So there's still a chance that it may not even make the ballot because I think they're down to about 15 or 16 and they want to get down to 10. One of the ideas, by the way, was to create, instead of one city and county of Honolulu, make like 9 city and counties all over the island, which then you'd have 9 council members for each of the 9 counties. Pretty ridiculous, actually, but that never made it. But yeah, so testify at the commission and or pass a resolution in opposition. Yeah, it should be on their website too, if you guys want to look at all the different ideas that they have. Some of them are pretty fascinating, actually.
All right. Any other comments or questions for the council chair? Herb?
Regarding all the e-bikes and all the different levels of the e-bikes and what they can and cannot do, I suggested meetings back that you put different color stickers on the bikes so that the officers have a easier time identifying and they're registered.
Oh, that's an excellent idea. Thank you.
All right. No other questions? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Tommy, for joining us tonight.
Good to see
It's
you.
always good to see you.
Thank you again.
Governor Josh Green's representative, Cameron Black, are you here? Not tonight. Senator Stanley Chang's office. Casey Shoji, are you online? There you are.
Well,
Welcome.
hi everyone. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm just gonna put our newsletter in the chat, a link to our newsletter. Just a couple updates from that. For our regular monthly newsletter, has an update of our legislative session. And if you look at the housing newsletter, we are going to be having a webinar on July 17th. That's a Friday at 11 a.m. And Senator Chang will be interviewing, discussing with Chris Parker from the Director of Perpetual Housing Fund on how Utah turns renters into homeowners using LIHTC funding. Yeah, and that's it for the updates. And I'll take any questions if you have any. Back to Senator Chang.
Thank you, Casey. Are there any questions for Senator Chang? No questions, Casey. Is the
thank you for-
senator is the senator particularly pleased with certain legislation that he helped pass this year?
I think so. There's I mean, you
Okay.
can look at our Look at our monthly newsletter. There's a whole update about legislation that he either co-sponsored or sponsored, and yeah. And then if you have any questions about that legislation, feel free to contact our office.
Okay, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All righty. Good night. Senator Chris Lee.
Hey, thanks again. First of all, following up on a couple of the conversations that have happened so far, I wanted to also congratulate HARD for a lot of their work. I just want to mention that following the open house last month, was it? We've started talking with state libraries about potential for, because ultimately the library we have is going to have to go through, they all have to go through a whole rehab process and everything else. And especially in communities where you have new services asked for, like community meeting spaces and art stuff and all kinds of different things, obviously space is an issue. So if there's going to be a long-term plan to spend a ton of money to like expand or rehab or whatever it is, you could potentially put that into acquiring a place that's bigger to begin with. So I will caution, in Kailua, we're doing something similar. But that followed years of surveys in the community and contact with community organizations and friends of the library and so on and so on. Obviously, this would be brand new discussion happening. So I'm meeting with state libraries Thursday, I believe, to chat about that. But probably time to start trickling the idea out there if there's interest and see what the community says. So that would be another potential option. That's it on CRB stuff. Last night on the windward side, our legislators in Kailua got together and did a town hall. There we had also given away CRB supplies and kits, including like netting or chemical treatments or other things. I was talking with Rep. Gideon, and potentially we could bring in Department of Ag here to do something similar, because obviously the longer you wait, the worse the problem gets. So might as well start now. And then finally on legacy lands, just to follow up, I looked at the bill number. It was Senate Bill 3028 that would have expanded the program funding. And that was a bill I introduced that it won't carry over because we're in a new legislative cycle, but the language in it will live again because I'll be reintroducing. And the one thing that wasn't said about that, there's a separate bill that we did pass. I couldn't find the number offhand, but it basically allows for an easier process for those lands that are acquired to be managed in a co-management agreement with the state to basically do what a lot of our local organizations are already doing, but much more easily with potential for funding and other things like that. So assuming that becomes law in the next week or two, there will be a whole new potential end game for not just acquiring land, but then having easier off-ramps to take care of it. Finally, there's a couple big wins I want to talk about. Starting with Senate Bill 2471. This is a bill that we passed that makes Hawaii the first state to address dark money in politics. And so the unlimited amounts of money, millions of dollars going into super PACs and things like that to influence elections at the ballot or for candidates. Citizens United, the Supreme Court decision in 2010 really unlocked that beast. And we've seen hundreds of millions and billions of dollars across the country flow into elections from places where people just can't see who's actually pulling the strings. So we basically barred anybody who's not a real person from dumping money into those kinds of super PACs. It's already being challenged at the court, so we'll see what happens, but got to try. And we think, according to our attorneys, that it should survive scrutiny because we have, as the state, the power to regulate those things. And then finally, this year was a good year for me in terms of overall numbers of bills. I got 25 bills and resolutions passed, which is remarkable in terms of the overall spectrum. And a lot of these are the ones that, some of which I had highlighted here before, but that included SB 3025, which addresses the 1 in 5 residents who have medical debt that they simply cannot afford to pay off. Because they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for cancer treatments and can't work and they're just stuck and it ruins their lives. So the bill appropriates $500,000 to cancel $91 million of medical debt for 50,000 Hawaii residents. That's 2,000 residents in our district here who get a clean slate and an opportunity to live a life again. And for all taxpayers, it also means in the end game lower costs because people will be able to go to the doctor again and not just wait till things get so bad they end up in the ER, which we all end up paying for anyway. SB 172 legislation that basically directs the PUC to do comparative analyses to look at the cheapest pathways so we can lower our electric bills rather than just letting developers invest in one and call it a day and just pass the costs on. Obviously huge when our cost of electricity from importing oil and fossil fuels is going through the roof because of the Iran war. Who knows what's next? So if we can do it right, this is the opportunity. SB 2999 sets up a clean fuels reinvestment program, which mirrors what's being done in other states like Washington, California, Oregon, New Mexico, and basically helps provide funding to lower and reinvest in transportation. So it can be rebates for EVs or micromobility or cleaner, cheaper fuels or whatever it might be. So excited about that one. And then there was a number of other things, but I'll skip down to SB 3007, Office of Community Culture and the Arts, which we're creating for the first time, which I got passed. That basically will empower the state to be able to go into our communities with additional support that we haven't seen before. So it mirrors some existing programs in other states where you can provide support for business improvement districts, but in regular communities. So for example, having real people, bodies on the street, actually cleaning up the side of the road and doing things like helping with community events and all the normal stuff that, you know, we seem to do in most cities and other countries, but we just don't do here as well. So that's really exciting. And then finally, SB 3253 sets up a new network of conservation sanctuaries throughout the state. And this mirrors successful models in places like New Zealand and others who realize they can't save all the endangered species everywhere, but they can create sanctuaries that are predator fenced and protected so that you're going to have these islands of safe havens for species so that they can continue to thrive and then spread out into the community. So that's really exciting as well. Let me stop there. Oh, the last one, mostly because I have a bone to pick with a guy on this one. At one of our schools, our elementary schools, a few years ago, a neighbor who lives immediately on the property line of the school snuck onto the school over a weekend and cut down a bunch of trees that the kids used to eat lunch under. And basically said, there's no laws that can stop me from doing this. I want my view. And that was it. And so they went to the school principal, went to the prosecutor's office, and they said, actually, yeah, there's nothing we can do to prosecute someone who does that kind of thing. So SB 2983, which we just passed, that I introduced to resolve that problem, creates a new crime for criminal destruction of a tree, which would hopefully stop these things from happening or at least deter them. So let me stop there. There's a ton more bills and everything else, but I know it's getting late and others have stuff to share. So happy to take any questions and thank you guys for all your support for these things.
Thank you very much, Senator. Any questions for Senator Lee? Yes, Judy, come on up.
I wonder if you have any update for preventing the spread of the coqui frog, you know, coming over over the koalas and coming to Hawaiʻi.
I don't have a good update. As I understand it, a couple of the other valleys, I think Pololo, back of Pololo, there's been a couple sightings or captures. So we're pushing Department of Ag as fast as we can. There's resistance there, I think, to collaborating with the folks who know how to do this best in the invasive species councils, which is frustrating. I know that right now Department of Ag is sitting on their funding and budget for this coming next year or two. And so we need DOA to sign off on the funding to go to the ISPs to be able to go and do that work because they've been, up until DOA took over, successful at stemming the tide and keeping the community engaged. I'll just say that it shouldn't have to come down to the community volunteering to go in and maintain and contain this stuff. There should be an effective program to be able to go do it because there used to be. So that's part of the battle that's coming right now, is to make sure that we can get the funding where it needs to go, expand the capacity to do it, and ultimately empower those who know how to do it well. I don't know the status on like counts or anything like that off the top of my head, but we can find out.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Appreciate it. Representative Joe Gideon.
Aloha and good evening, members of the neighborhood board. I almost didn't recognize that young man down at the end without his mustache. It's my pleasure to give my update tonight. Last week, everybody should have received my legislative wrap-up newsletter. In it, we had survey results from my mid-session survey, which results I used to help in my voting during session. If anybody doesn't have it, I've got extra copies here. On inside of there, we also listed a few of the notable bills, a few that I was proud to help support this past session. Now, the first one is SB 2580, having to do with the film tax credit. That one was actually introduced by our Senator Stanley Chang, so that's one you can chalk up. There was a lot of support for this one. The bill helps bring more movies and TV productions here to Hawaii by giving the film companies tax credits if they choose to film here. Right now, they receive 22% of their qualified expenses back. If they're filming on Oahu, neighbor islands get 27%. If they hire at least 80% local workers, they get an extra 5% bump, increasing it to 27% on Oahu, 32% on neighbor islands. The state also increased the total amount of film tax credits available each year from $50 million to $60 million. This idea was first introduced in HB 2037 in the Economic Development Committee, which I sat on, and was later introduced in the final version of SB 2580. Film companies also have to prove how they spent their money by having an independent accountant review their expenses before receiving the tax credit, helping to ensure the program is accountable. Another bill, HB 1692, the law helps make roads safer by requiring drivers to slow down and, when safe, move over for any vehicles that are stopped displaying their flashing their hazard lights, not just police cars, fire trucks, and ambulances. It also raises the minimum age to ride in the bed of a pickup truck from 12 to 16 years old, while still keeping a few exceptions for situations like farm work, parades, emergencies, and other types of work vehicles. And one that we talk about every month, e-bike safety rules. So HB 2021 has not been signed by the governor yet, but on July 15th, if it's not signed, it'll go into law. But this was another popular one that moved through the legislative session. It helps create new safety rules for electric bikes to help riders, pedestrians, and drivers safely share the roads. Anyone under the age of 18 riding a bicycle or electric scooter must wear a helmet, and riders under 16 must be supervised when operating faster than Class 2 or Class 3 bikes. The bill also bans dangerous riding, such as wheelies, which we see a lot of in our neighborhood. Wheelies are stunts on our public roads, and it keeps high-speed electric devices off of bike paths, sidewalks, and other public areas where they could create safety risks. All e-bikes in Hawaii must be clearly labeled with their class, top speed, motor size, so buyers know whether they're buying a legal vehicle. Herb, that's a great idea, having different colors for the classes. Right now, from what I understand, that is not part of the rules, but it's a great suggestion. Mopeds and electric bikes are no longer allowed in bicycle lanes or on bike paths. And I put a note here, different color labels are a good idea. So those are in my notes. Want to thank Senator Chris Lee for that idea for the Hawaii Kai CRB Town Hall with DLNR. I'm sorry, with Department of Agriculture. It's a great idea. I'd love to work with you on that. Last week, we had our monthly Let's Talk story. Hawaiian Electric came in. They brought their leadership team. They've been very great to work with whenever we ask for any type of town hall, or I mean, even when we have the storms and the lights are going out, I'm getting emails from them every handful of hours. So last week we hosted the Let's Talk Story with Hawaiian Electric to discuss the ongoing reliability issues affecting Hawaii Kai. They acknowledged the frustration many residents were having with power outages and flickering lights and apologized for the continued disruptions. One of their leadership team actually lives in Hawaii Kai. They explained that the flickering appears to be caused by a combination of factors, including the high concentration of rooftop solar and home battery systems interacting with the electrical grid. HECO is working with the solar battery manufacturers, doing testing to try and pinpoint where the issue is coming from, and hopefully the manufacturers can push an update to the batteries. But this is just one of the factors that they've been able to identify. HECO also shared updates on several projects aimed at improving reliability. Work continues at the Ahi substation just over here, where aging transformers and electrical equipment are being replaced, and underground electrical cables throughout Hawaii Kai are being upgraded with newer, more reliable systems. They also discussed the broader grid modernization effort, and being that most of Hawaii Kai's grid was done decades ago, even more than that. Today, with thousands of homes generating solar power and using battery storage, electricity flows in both directions, creating new challenges. To address this, HECO is investing in smart grid technology, including advanced monitoring systems, data analytics, fast response, power generation, and continued upgrades to the poles, power lines, and wildfire protection. Our next talk story is going to be on July 31st. We're inviting DEM and Hawaiʻi, as well as one of our own community members, Matt Glay. Did I pronounce that correct? So I met with Matt recently. My goal is to start a Hawaii Kai emergency preparedness working group, and I was really excited after meeting with him. He already had 10 years of content ready to go. So I'm looking forward to getting the ball rolling on that, working closely with him. We're hoping to invite other stakeholders. Hawaiian Electric has already agreed to have somebody sit in on the working group. I would love to have somebody from our neighborhood board as well. And I believe the program before was called Hawaii Strong. It started in Hawaii Strong, Hawaii Kai Strong, I'm sorry. Started in 2014, and in 2020, shortly after COVID, it kind of fizzled out. So in essence, we're going to be reviving that. I'm really looking forward to that. Another working group that I'm looking to start in the near future will be a working group to address homelessness in Hawaii Kai. Spoke with Michael Goodman a few months back. He doesn't live in Hawaii Kai anymore, but I know he had the homeless task force here in Hawaii Kai. So a few months ago, we had IHS, HPD, River of Life come and present to us at the talk story. So we'll be talking with them as well. Let's see. Because I've been getting emails lately about increase of homelessness at Sandy Beach in the Vavamalu area. Irma is just out from the stoplight. So things we'd like to address. Let's see, Mauna Loa Bay. I've been working with Dobor to get a beach cleanup going. We've got, sorry, okay. We've got the equipment needed by one of our Hawaii Kai residents. He owns one of the more prominent landscaping companies. He's offered to let us borrow their equipment to do the beach cleanup. We're just waiting for clearance and a confirmed date from Dobor. It's taking a little more time than I thought it would. From my meeting with Director Stiffen, actually last month, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but there are plans to repave Kalaniana Ole from Makapu to Sandy Beach. But that's going to start towards the end of the year. I'm not going to give any specific dates because they haven't announced it. But when they do, we'll be helping them to get that out to the community. On a more somber note, many of you heard about the car accident over the Pali, where it claimed the life of Kalena Abelman. The family actually lives here in Hawaii Kai. I've known the dad for over 10 years. They attend my church. He shared a message with me, and I wanted to share it with you guys just how grateful they are to the Hawaii Kai community. A lot of people have just come around and really held them up, and just a lot of outpouring of love and support. So I just wanted to share that message with the neighborhood board. And it also kind of sparked the idea to start a program in Hawaii Kai. Other areas are doing it, other private entities are doing it, but a Drive Aloha program, something to promote safe driving, where it says drive aloha, no need speed, but just reminders, check your speed, put your phone down. So I'm looking forward to launching that in the coming weeks. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to attend the 2026 Eagle Scout Recognition Ceremony and Mentoring Program. Representative Corey Chun and I were there to support the new Eagle Scouts from this past year. He and I are both, I believe, are the only Eagle Scouts in the legislature. Also, a few weeks ago, I need to give another shout out to Senator Chris Lee. Had the opportunity to attend the Southern California Electrification Tour. We had the opportunity to visit a number of locations, Archer Innovation, Harbinger Motors, the Port of Long Beach, to see some of the steps that are, and Rivian. I don't know if any of you guys drive one of those, but you got to see the newest vehicle there. But it was a valuable opportunity to see the technologies firsthand and bring back ideas that might benefit Hawaii as we continue modernizing our transportation and energy infrastructure. Lastly, I want to echo Elizabeth Riley. If you guys are looking for something fun to do this 4th of July, Hawaii Kai Shopping Center. They're celebrating 250 years since the birth of our country. It's hosted by Uncle Henry Kapono, featuring a number of local favorites such as Kapena, Hawaiian Star Band, Mauna. It's going to be a great time. I'll be there. Come hang out. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Representative Gideon. And questions, Elizabeth?
I don't know if Mark Goodman can help. Oh, no, he doesn't live here anymore. There's a new homeless person. Actually, he's been there for several months now, right at the entrance to Hawaii, Kamilanui Valley. And it's troubling because sometimes he cooks and it's just very troubling because of the vegetation that's there.
Right at the entrance to where?
Kamilanui Valley,
Okay, yeah.
and we know that it's not Kamehameha School's land, it's somebody else's land. And it would be helpful. I think the landowner was contacted, but nothing happened. And so I don't know if maybe a phone call from you would be helpful to arrange for that person not to be there, because they're spreading out. And now if you go into Kamilanui Valley, you'll start to see rubbish starting to get piled. And I don't know if Judy is familiar with what I'm talking about or not, but it's a safety hazard because sometimes he's cooking and residents in the immediate area see that. And there's nothing that the police can do because it's on private property. So the private property landowner needs to assist.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. We'll connect afterwards and we can talk about that.
Thank you.
We also have a question from Paige online. Go ahead, Paige.
Hi, Rep. Thanks for your report. Can you hear me?
Aloha, Paige. I can hear you. Wow.
Oh, good. I wanted to throw this by you because I unfortunately I missed the beginning of the meeting with HPD, but I did hear Elizabeth talking about the noise level from the cars that were at Sandy Beach and that have been circling the neighborhood. I don't know how bad it is in other areas, but I can tell you around Mauna Lua Triangle and Portlock Road, it's been really bad lately. I've been getting emails and phone calls from a lot of my neighbors. I don't know what the rules are or the laws are as far as noise level. It seems to be sometimes in the middle of the day, and then it seems to wane off a little bit, and I don't know if it's because school is out, but then sometime between like 9 p.m. and midnight, it seems to escalate, and it's motors that are very loud and radios and stuff like that. And I'm only bringing it up with you because you're our district rep, and like I said, I would have brought it up with HPD, but I wasn't here. But I'm not exactly sure where to go with this. I've got constituents that are asking that We have police stationed at the first entrance to Portlock Road. They want them there like, between 10 and 11 at night and between 11 and 3 in the afternoon. I mean, residents are, they're really at a point where they're kind of fed up. They've got windows breaking and dogs being affected, and it's just really gotten out of control. And I don't know what to do. I'll take suggestions from anybody, but I'm not exactly sure who to talk to or where to go with all this, because we're so understaffed with HPD. I can't ask them to put an officer there, 5 hours a day just to sit there and,
But just
monitor
one initial
people's.
thought would be maybe we can pinpoint some of the time frames, and if they can at least do a drive-through during those times. But I'd love to connect with you with you on that, and we can work together.
Yeah, I mean, at least if nothing else, who do we go to first, kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to know what the rules are too. A lot of people are saying, what's the law about noise? And
There's definitely laws on noise.
yeah, I just don't know what they are. So yeah, I would love to be able to answer that question for my constituents. So
Perfect. But let's connect on that. We'll work on it together.
okay, thank you. I will do that.
Thanks, Paige. Any other questions?
All right, I think that's it for the questions. Oh, come on up, please.
Proud to share my microphone with you, Tom.
That's vice versa, and I'm not on his payroll either. Thank you. First of all, the very specific laws on noise. So just to follow up with that, about 8 pages long. We've had it in the Honolulu. Joe, thank you very much. Your talk stories are great. You mentioned that the next one is July 31st, and all of them have been on Thursdays before. You mean July 30th?
I'm sorry, you're right. It is July 30th, Thursday, July 30th.
The other is, you mentioned the event July 4th that Elizabeth referred to. That one is July 3rd, which is this Friday, as she rightly said. July 4th, Henry Kapono is giving concerts. Those are indoors, commercial, ticket only, maybe sold out. July 3rd, though, is open to the whole public. And it's from 4 to 9 this year. Just wanted to make sure we're on the same page.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, and thanks for all your great work.
Absolutely. I stand corrected. You're right. It is July 3rd. We're celebrating the 4th of July weekend, but July 3rd at Hawaiʻi Shopping Center.
All right, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
In regards to that celebration on the 3rd, you guys, it's not going to be much parking, so carpool and walk and ride your bikes and all that.
That actually is one of the suggestions from the mall as well. Thank you.
All right, is there anyone from Representative Mark Hasham's office here tonight? Is there anybody from our congressional offices? All right, we're going to be going on to board business. First on our agenda is an update on the Kaiwi Coast Scenic Byway. I did mention earlier that our 2 committees will be holding a joint meeting on July 22nd, Wednesday, between 6 and 7:30 p.m. at the Hawaiʻi Library Meeting Room. And this is to discuss a possible land designation for Vavamalu Beach to maintain preservation or protection of the land. But there's also a question of the spelling of the name, and if that spelling is changed, whether or not we need possible new signage. So Committee on Parks and Recreation and Committee on Planning, Zoning, and Environment will be conducting that meeting. Thank you very much, committee chairs. And board members, you're certainly free to attend. Is there any update on Kamilunui Valley agriculture? Judy, do you have anything to share with us? And Elizabeth, go ahead.
I just want to share that if you go to the very back of Kamilunui Valley, you're going to see a section of land that's starting to be cleared. And the purpose and intent, Kamehameha Schools is working with us on expanding a fire break that we maintain. So I just thought I'd let everybody know that it's a preventative measure for fire break under Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization. Camilla Valley Mariners Cove Firewise community. So it's in concert with Kamehameha Schools. So that's what's happening back there. Thank you.
Firewise work. Judy?
I just wanted to announce that I guess most of the farmers who want to stay in Camilo Nui Valley, we just signed for a new license that would extend to June 2027. And for this foreseeable future, it will be yearly licenses. And the new land manager is Jennifer Tom. And she's very personable, very open, very transparent. So I think we'll have a very good relationship with her.
That is very nice to hear. And I'm glad that the farmers at least have another year on their license. Thank you for sharing. There is no update on the Cocoa Crater stables, but just to remind the board that I did send that letter that the board asked me to send. I shared that letter with all of the board members. The concessionaire has retained a lawyer, and so there's nothing that we have to share until they work out whatever negotiations they're able to negotiate with the city in terms of what's going to happen with the Cocoa Crater stables. So hopefully Amy Asselby will have more to share with us at next month's meeting. So moving on to the approval of the regular meeting minutes. These are the minutes for our meeting on May 26. These minutes were distributed to all board members and to the public. Are there any suggested revisions or amendments to the minutes that were distributed? Seeing none, the minutes for May 26 are accepted as distributed. Are there any other board announcements? Then I'm going to go into the closing announcements. The next regular meeting of the Hawaiʻi Neighborhood Board is on Tuesday, July 28th at 7 p.m. at the Hahaiʻi Elementary School cafeteria and on WebEx. The Hawaiʻi Neighborhood Board regular meetings are cablecast on Olelo Channel 49 on the second Monday of the following month at 9 p.m. and repeating on that month's third Friday at 7 a.m. Videos of the meetings can also be seen online either at the olelo.org OleloNet or at the honolulu.gov NCO Board's video archive. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. Wishing you all a safe and happy July 4th weekend. Thank you for attending. Our meeting is adjourned.